Hi, this is Yasmita Megan again. I hope all of you are well and enjoying the the Great International Craft Show. And we're going to be here for the next, like today and the next 2 days as part of this show on a virtual event. There's lots of fabulous exhibitors out here, and our target is to reach as many of you as possible over the weekend to explain what we do and what we present, even to the international market, since it's sort of been taken on an international level. So we do appreciate you stopping by and looking at what we have to say and what we're sharing with you. As you know, I designed the Yazzie craft storage bags for the last 20 years, and I'm not a crafter, but I have enjoyed doing all of this. When I started, it was purely from a travel perspective. I thought we needed a few bags that we can take uh, on the plane or in our baggage and have everything viewable, accessible. I can't even remember how we sort of ended up in the craft industry, and we quite entrenched in it and with no plans of leaving that area. So I know now which part of the industry that I'm sort of working towards. And every new bag that I've introduced has come from crafters here in Australia, and quilters particularly, and designers, and many of you overseas who have helped me develop this range. It hasn't been anything I've sort of suggested. When I sit and ask someone, what do you feel you need? They'll talk to me about their blocks. They'll talk to me about their threads. They'll talk to me about their templates. And that's how we've sort of managed to pull off 38 bags overall that are in our current catalog. So this is the catalog that we have produced recently. I've not reprinted it only because the only other bag I've added is iron storage bag, which works for your Oliso iron, the mini iron. Now that mini iron is not available in Australia yet. It will be probably towards the end of the year. But for now, it's not, so I do not have those iron storage bags here. But for all of those looking from the US, yes, they've arrived in the US, and you're welcome to order them if you're looking for somewhere to store this iron with your trivet. And it does work extremely well, even for other little irons too. It wasn't just only made for this, but it's perfect for a mini Oliso iron. And we do have the smaller irons that work with another product of ours, which is CA580. So getting back to what I'd like to talk to you today about is, we've got an offer for this show that applies obviously now to people watching from overseas and in Australia. So I'm going to try and simply explain, but I would like to talk about Australia first. For anyone in Australia who does a minimum spend of $75 over one or two bags, or even one bag, that's about $80 bag, you will get your product on a free freight basis. So minimum spend for a free freight in Australia is 75 Australian dollars. We're also offering a special during the show for Valentine's, and actually it'll be valid till the 15th of February at midnight. And that will give you a 3-piece pouch, which is this one, only in the red color. And we will be, this is $19.95 on our website, but you will get that if you spend $100 as your minimum spend. So it's $75 Australian for your free freight and $100 to get the extra 3 bags. And it'll only be in red. So if you've ordered an aqua or a purple bag, you still will only receive that in red. You don't have to place an order. The minute we see you've qualified, we will include that in your order. Now, for anyone outside the country, whether it's New Zealand, Europe, US, anywhere, starting with the US, continental USA, it's $50 US for a free freight, $75 for anyone who wanting to have that giveaway. So you will get that extra 3 bags. Now, for anyone in Alaska, Hawaii, Canada, New Zealand, Europe, UK, we will be offering that to you for $75 spend for the free freight and $100 for the 3 pouches. So if anyone's got any questions, you're welcome to ask, but I think the information is on the website, and it's been also noted in this particular craftalive.com.au. If you visit our landing page within that site, under the exhibitors, you will find all that information readily available for you. We've also sponsored 4 lovely gifts that are part of our range, very popular items as for this show. So if you enter the competition from their main homepage, you will have an opportunity to be part of this competition and possibly winning one of those prizes. 2 of those prizes have been nominated for the US and 2 are for Australia. So I just wanted to keep the balance there between the 2. Now, for any of you who are not aware of our products, we've been doing this for 20 years. These are handcrafted products in India, working with the same factory. We're very proud to note that these are beautifully crafted bags, and it is a labor of love. So it requires a lot of respect as well around the making of them. And we have to appreciate the quality. I mean, I hear so often that someone said they've had it for 10 years, 15 years, 18 years, and that's a great sign. And when they tell me they own 18 and 22 bags, well, that's even better for me. So we do occasionally remove the products from our website because we're discontinuing them. We cannot afford within the US, Europe, and Australia be carrying that many colors, the 7 colors we offer, and that many products. So that's the only reason. There's nothing to do with the fact that it's not a good bag. We just have to sort of keep turning it around. Now, for those of you who might not be aware, our general color offering is a purple, an aqua, a fuchsia, and a green, which is a lovely olive green, a navy blue, and the red, the blood red, like a banana red. And we've got the black. Some people prefer the darker colors, depending where you are. I find various countries and various states, even in Australia, I'll find Queensland, even Western Australia will order some of the brighter colors more easily. And in Victoria, they like the navies and the blacks. It's your choice, really, but we thought we're trying to combine everyone. There was a time this red was a burgundy. We had a maroon color, and we've discontinued that. We've got a few pieces floating in our website at a 25% discount. You're more than welcome to choose those if that's the color you like. A lot of people do like it and ask me, why did I remove it? But I did not want the red and the maroon competing with each other within our range. So anyway, these are the colors. And while I've got you here, I'm going to explain. These are the 3 pouches for the last time that I'm going to really include if you meet our minimum spend values, whether it be overseas or here. Our products are based in the US. We will be dispatching them from Kentucky to you. We also provide them from Melbourne, Australia over here. So that's one set of pouches. Now, these are not included, but I wanted to, while I'm at this topic of pouches, that we do supply these 2 as well as a set. The code is CA420 if you'd like to look at those. And maybe if you weren't aware that we do offer these pouches, it does complement our larger bags. It doesn't have to work with any bags. You can just keep that in your handbag for your makeup, your jewelry, when you're traveling. And I don't know when we will be traveling, but whenever you do, at least you know everything's visible and easily accessible. Some people have asked for the larger pouches, and we introduced these a few years ago. They're much larger. You'd have to look at the dimensions on the website, and the code is CA510. So that's CA510. This is 420. And the one that's part of our Valentine's offer is CA405, and it's a 3-piece set. Again, I keep one of these with my makeup in my handbag. I keep my medications in one of them. They make lovely gifts because they're practical. You'll find people will use them for many years. So for today, I'm going to now stay short on the introduction. you do know we're in the classrooms every day at 2 o'clock. There's a lot of exciting little classes. We've got a fabulous uh, Sashiko and Burrow interview with Sue Howie from Indigo Niche Designs. And we're also excited that we're launching a fabulous range of kits. There's 7 products of Yazzi's in collaboration with Indigo Niche that we've created beautiful Sashiko kits. You might want to have a look at them on our website, yazzie.com, as well as indigoniche.com. So we're quite excited about it. We'd like you to join our newsletter if you would like to. We'd also like you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And on our website, under the media section, there's lots and lots of videos that we have, time-lapse videos that show you the internals of our bags, and that makes it quite exciting. And as you know, we've got people who are doing some amazing embellishing of our products, just making it their own. It's just a little craft box that they like doing borrow embroidery, and they've made it different. Then we've got people who might like to just do something with their felt. We've got all these elephant lovers that might end up doing something creative on their bags. It's a question of whether you feel you want to, but it does show you a different technique. There are people worldwide, great designers who are now working on a lot of projects and teaching you all kinds of techniques, because they can work for wool embroidery, sashiko, beading, applique, English paper piecing. I am amazed at how the business has grown at a totally different level once these bags have become everyone's favorites to embellish them. So it does stand out in a crowd, and I think it's amazing that you put all that effort. So it's a good time to maybe do something special while you're spending a lot more time at home, and do something creative on a bag and use it as a Christmas gift, or because every woman on the move can use it, whether it's for their makeup, their jewelry, whatever they need to. And the other thing I will mention is we ended up with 17 of our products from our current craft catalog as is being used for travel bags, like jewelry storage at home. You can really give it as a gift to someone. They absolutely work fabulously. I know I've been using mine for many years. So this catalog is also on our website if you'd like to look at it closely. They little travel wallets, jewelry wallets, makeup bags, whatever you feel. Even at home, I'm constantly looking into these bags to find all my jewelry, because I see it as a little bit of an inventory keeper if I've used something and haven't put that back in the bag in question. So as you know, these products are handcrafted in India on a treadle machine. They really work and live up to the quality, and we are very happy that we seem to raise the bar each year and not just sitting back and saying we don't have to, or there's no need to anymore, since the product is so well established as a brand. Yazzie.com, if you Google it, it's available everywhere. Great reviews, great testimonials, and we feel proud that we've managed. And this is our only way of communicating with you right now under the circumstances we are all living in. So hopefully you stay with us, and tomorrow you can come back at 11 o'clock, where I'm going to show you a lot of our embellishments and some of our trims and stuff that we sell in Australia. This is not for the US market or Canada. It's only for the Australian market, because I think we're doing them at great discounted prices. And you will see what I'm talking about when you see me tomorrow at 11. Now, the most exciting news I've got for you today is Sue Spargo. I think, she's just an amazing creative embroiderer, and she does classes internationally, and she's been doing this for many, many years. Now, we found each other about 9 years ago at one of the shows overseas in the States, and she really liked the bags, and she came up to me and mentioned that she'd like to order some of these and do some creative stuff and start with her first little project on them. And since then, it's been an ongoing relationship with her and her family. And I appreciate them very much because she's definitely taken the Yazzie bags to another level totally. Many others have also done some amazing work. I don't want to sort of ignore everyone else, but she was the person, Sue Spargo, who sort of started it all out for me that many years ago. So I asked them for a little video. I said, do you mind in your busy schedule doing something special for me? And they were very happy to do it. And I'm going to play a little video that I've just received yesterday morning. And I thought that'll give you some perspective as to how she's taken the bags at another level for us and why everyone thinks that they the most amazing bags worldwide, beautifully crafted, and they do enjoy using them. So I'm going to leave you to it and I'll come back in a little while.
Hi, I'm Sue Spargo, a designer and a maker of many different things, quilts and embroidery. Just because of what I do, I have lots and lots of threads, needles, and I always love to find the correct or the best solution for storage. That will be when I'm traveling on the road or here back in the studio. Many years ago, I came across Yazzie bags and loved the quality, loved the organization of them. So we use many of them in projects that I do for our business as well as for my personal use. So I thought today I would share some different ways to embellish them because it's always really fun to personalize a piece rather than just using plain. So I often make what I would call little mini quilts that would go on top of a bag. I also do ribbon designs, so I often incorporate ribbons on the handles. So I thought I'd share with you some different ideas. Recently, I came out with some pre-cuts with wonderful threads, and these are little pre-cut blocks, just like this. And so they would be a fun starting point for people who are not that familiar with wool embellishment, because you just get a nice little square that you can either bind or put a little border on, and that would make a really fun piece to put on your quilt. With each of my big projects, like for instance folk tales, so that's my quilt with my memory of growing up in South Africa, full of animals that I loved. So with those projects, I always include a Yazzie bag as the workbox for that year. And so I often use the Crafter's Companion, which is a bigger bag, because in that we can store all our applique threads, wool threads, cotton threads, as well as all our embellishment threads, and often even the blocks will fit in as well, so it's a nice way to keep a whole project together. Otherwise, sometimes I just embellish little ones just to carry along when I'm traveling home for the night or on the road teaching, so that I have everything together in one little bag. So I'll use an applique design. Often, because I work with hand-dyed wool, I would cut out all the pieces and then I would applique the wool down. All right, so once you decide what little pattern you want to make, you would take your pattern, and we're going to now draw this on freezer paper. And I always use freezer paper because it's reusable, it's easy to use, reasonable in price. So I'm going to trace this little leaf on here. And I always trace my images and then I cut them out on the line. So I do like to cut out my templates. I don't particularly want them to have any extra paper around the outside because I like to cut along the edge of the paper and not through the paper and the wool at the same time. And I drew it on the matte side of the freezer paper. The back side of it has a little bit more glossy, but that is the side that's going to iron down onto the wool. So There's my little leaf. So right here I've got my iron set up. I'm just going to use a hot dry iron that onto, I always say the right side. That with wood is really, it's hard to tell what's the right side, so often I do it for the color or the texture. Sometimes they have a different texture on both sides. Now I'm going to cut this out around the edge of the freezer paper like this. You can see how nice the freezer paper is for a template because it'll stay on there. And the other really nice thing is that you can reuse it. So you could, if you had multiple leaves, you could reuse it. So now I'm just going to peel this off. The thing about freezer paper that's fun is if you want to ever do like a direction, you know, if I have lots of leaves and there's a top and a bottom, you can mark it. You can also make yourself notes on them so that you can keep them for further use. So then I would take it to my piece and I would pin it in place. And I like to use these little applique pins. I don't like big pins so that they just hold the wool in place. And as I'm trying to think about where I would start with anything that underlays anything. So for instance, I would do this little stem first because it underlays the yellow. I'd do the yellow, and then I would also do the purple, and the last part I would do would be the green leaf. So I use wool thread. So the Ilana wool thread that we have comes in 60 colors. We dyed them to match our wool, so you can get a really nice match. This is a wool acrylic thread, and you need the acrylic in it so that it is strong enough to stitch with. If it was 100% wool, it often will shred. I'm going to use about 18 inches in length. And I'm now going to thread a 24 chenille needle. So the easiest way to thread this is you would thread it from the end that comes off the thread, not the end that you cut. And I always double it and just hold it in my fingers and thread it like that. It's easier to thread it double than to thread the end that might be a little bit wispy. And then I'm going to put a quilter's knot in the end. So you're going to make a circle like that, wrap 3 or 4 times, and then hold the wraps and pull it down, and you'll have a nice little knot at the bottom of your thread there. So I'm going to come up from the back of my work, and what's really nice about wool applique, it's raw edge, and if you have wool, which I like, that felts up fairly tightly, then you can do a really small stitch on the edge. You will not need to use any fusible on the back. So I'm doing a little stitch that is about 1/8 of an inch deep and 1/8 of an inch apart. I always tell my students that I put a little bit of tension on each stitch because I want the thread to nestle into the wool. When it nestles in, it becomes very invisible, so you can hardly see it. The other important thing is that you're going to make sure that when you applique, you clear the edge of the wool so that you get a nice smooth edge along the edge here. If you go underneath it like this, you're going to get a sort of scallopy edge. So I want a nice smooth edge. I also don't want anything to fight with the edge. So that is why I use the wool thread, because the texture is like wool, and I use a thread that matches, because when I come back to do embellishment stitches, I don't want this stitch, like if I'd done this in a black stitch or a full cotton, to me that is an embellishment already. So you don't want to have something that contrasts with it because it'll fight with what you're going to put on as the embellishment. So I would just whip stitch everything down. I would just finish this thread as well, so you can just see how I finish it. So when I run out of thread, I'm going to take my thread to the back. And you can see my stitches are all perpendicular to the edge and they blend in quite well. Then I don't generally knot. I just do 3 little stitches like this, very close together. And then I thread for about 1/2 inch to 1 inch through the layers, and then I cut it off so that I don't have any long threads on the back as well. So that's what I would do, applique everything down. If I'm doing cotton layers like this, I would use a cotton thread, stitch that down by appliquing. And once everything is stitched down the way that I want it, then I will think about what I want to do to embellish it. I'm going to embellish on another little piece that I've appliqued here and sort of give you some ideas. I like to embellish most of my edges of applique as well as embellish on top of them. I've done a back stitch here in a silky thread, and so it has a sheen. So I thought I would share a couple of different stitches with you. And all these stitches are in my little book, Creative Stitching. So the first one I'm going to do is a little fly stitch. And I'll often use a fly stitch, give what I call like a dandelion effect around something. So I thought it would be really quite fun around this little circle here. So I'm using a variegated number 8 eleganza. And so the number 8s have green cores on them. And so they're easy to tell apart from the other sizes, which have different colors. Again, I'm threading a 24 chenille needle, because that is my general embroidery needle that I use for most stitches, unless I'm doing wrap cast on stitches. This thread color, which is ECM 78, is from our primitive line, which has softer colors. So to do a little fly stitch, I'm going to come up about a scant 1/4 inch into my background on the left hand side of the stitch, go straight across to the right, come out in the center, so I'm on the edge of my circle, the thread underneath the needle, and that'll give me a little V, and then I'm going to do a straight little stitch and repeat that. Come up on the left, come over to the right, back in the center, the thread underneath the needle, and then straight down like this. You can see as I do this little fly how it's going to change the edging of this. So I guess the fun thing for me is the more I do, the more I want to do, because it changes the piece so much and gives it a personality. And then you can always come back and add little French knots or little bullion knots inside the beads to make little flower shape. So another little tip with a fly stitch, especially when you're working around a circle, it can be hard to keep the little tails straight. So once I've done the V, you see if I hold this perpendicular to the edge, it'll help me for placement of keeping those straight. That is sort of fun. You can see how that, and this little stitch works really nice also around flowers because of, like I said, the sort of dandelion effect or like starburst. That's really fun. So the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little chain stitch around the edge of this leaf. And you'll see how that'll also change the look of it. So I'm going to pick up a green thread. This is EZM 103. This is also in a size 8. It's variegated, so it'll have a little bit of a texture around there. But I tend not to use very contrasting colors. I like the colors to blend, and I prefer to use contrast. Say I want to do French knots down the center, then maybe I could pick up a teal or a pink or something like that. But I tend to edge with similar colors so that it enhances the piece. So to do a little chain stitch, you're going to come up, put your needle back in and where you came out, and come forward a little bit with the thread underneath the needle. Then you'll go back into that chain, forward, and these will connect and give a nice little edging around the edge of the leaf like this. A nice little stitch. I do like to use a chain, especially in a size 8, because sometimes if you just did a back stitch in an 8, it gets a little lost. I tend to do the back stitches in the heavier threads, the 5s or the 3s, because the chain stitch has like a double thread, so it's a little bit more visible than if it was for a back stitch. So you can see how that will edge the edge of the leaf. So, you don't have to know very difficult stitches. You can do a lot of fun things with some fairly simple stitches as well. It's all about the threads and the application of where you put the stitches. This is what I like to do at a point. When I have made the last chain, I like to take it to the back and then come back up inside the chain. Sort of anchors it there because sometimes they want to move around a little bit. But this way, I always get a fairly good point. Come up the side here. When I'm embellishing, I want to end the thread. I actually end the same way that I showed you for wool thread. I prefer not to knot, but just to do little back stitches on the back. So you can see how that sort of changes what an image looks like, which is sort of fun. So, you can do as much embellishment as you like. Another nice thing is to do little French knots in the rickracs. If you've used rickracs, you can personalize your piece as much as you like so that you have a unique piece to put on your Yazzie bag. Again, you can then come back and hand quilt it or machine quilt it or just back it with a backing and a binding, and then it would be ready to attach to your bag. You can see here I've done little circles and just done random little things that come to mind. And it's also a wonderful way I find often that I have lots of these little samples from teaching, and I then use them and incorporate them into different little bags. This piece, which is pre-printed piece of canvas, is stitched with my number 3 and 5 of eleganza. Being a thicker thread, you can see how textural it is, and it really looks very nice stitched on this. So sometimes when I just want to do more like a slow stitching borrow type design, I can just do the stitching without doing some applique. There's many other ways they can be done. Here I knit with the number 3 and 5 eleganza as well. So these are my green colors in the line. And then you can see also how I've hand quilted with an 8 eleganza. So it makes for another textural idea. I also sometimes do samples with ribbons. And so another way to do a little block that's pretty simple, you can choose your favorite ribbons and then you can do some stitching on those to add another little texture and make a different little square to add to your pieces. This little circle one was machine quilted, and this would be ready to sew on as well. So if you make lots of little pieces, some of the smaller type Yazzie bags are fun, and you can see how you can add it. So I would put it on, pin it in place, and then I use a little running stitch with a pearl cotton generally in the inside of the binding like this to attach it. I generally use a 3 milliner's needle and can then get through to the layer below in order to get that on. And another option would be to whip stitch it along the edge of the binding. So I'm just making these as a little quilt with a backing, little batting inside, quilting them and then binding them generally with a 2.5 inch cut binding. This little double deluxe is one of my favorite bags, and I think why I like it so much is that it always reminds me of an old-fashioned little sewing basket. So we have done them in a couple of different sizes in Yazzie bags, and there's a larger one than this. We have them made without the handles so we can personalize them ourselves. And you can see that what I've done here is I have made 2 little handles that are in a little zaggy cotton fabric, so you could do something really fun. You could also put ribbon on it. And then I have made this little borrow pieced indigo piece, which I love because we've done a lot of indigo dyeing here in our studio. And so I've incorporated all the little pieces and a little bit of velvet here, you can see, as well as wool and cotton. And then I've used all my indigo threads and just done like a little borrow stitching. So it makes for a nice little top. I then took some of our webbing and a little bit of our strapping here, and I made a nice little strap. So I put some Velcro on it like this, you can see. So this will thread through here to give me a little carrying handle. And I also hand stitched this little design onto this tape that I stitched on here. And then I did a Velcro closure. And so you can now have a nice little sewing bag or sewing box, which is, like I said, one of my favorite little designs from Yazzie. Back here are also lots of different ideas. Here is one that I did for my cuppa, and I used a ribbon to put on the handle, so that's a little different. This one I just made a little band with little circles. Same with the little filing bag that's bound with little circles. These little ones are from our pre-cut blocks, so you can use those for embellishing as well. This little bee one that I designed, and this is the bag from Folk Tales. This little bag back here, which I love, it has storage for our pouches, so you can fill these with threads and then carry them like this. But I love the front of this because I did this with a little boro piece incorporating buttons and sashiko, and then I also embellished the handle. So there's so many varieties of bags for all different uses, so you would find the ones that work best for you, but have fun, embellishing them and creating a fun little cover that is uniquely yours.
Sue to okay. I'm back now, and I just wanted to thank Sue Spargo again and Kelly and the crew out there to have quickly put this together on my request and help me present this to you today. This was like a collection of bags that she's been doing for many years, and there's plenty more as well. But I thought the fact that she was able to set this up and send it off to me yesterday was just very special to me, and I cannot thank them enough. Now I'm going to play a video. It's going to show you some of the other embellished bags that others have also attempted to do, and they've done a fabulous job. So this will give you a very broad picture of what we provide and how you can take the Yazzie bags after using them for 10 and 15 years. If you just want to brighten them up, freshen them up, whatever you decide to do, because the bags are there for you for a long time. You might end up buying a knitting bag or a crochet hook bag or something for your English paper piecing if you've picked up another type of craft, but they do work at every level. So I'm going to leave you with that right now and to see that video, and hopefully you'll get a broader sense of it. And we'll also play some testimonials of what people have said about the products. So, and also there's a little video on English paper piecing and some of the bags that crafters have found exceptionally helpful to organize their English paper piecing projects. And that's where I will end the session today. And tomorrow, as I said, at 11 o'clock, I'm going to show you lots of trims. Basically, I'm going to settle with the trims and show you what you can achieve with them. And they're only available in Australia. So thank you for watching, and do share this with your friends, okay? Bye for now.